The American dream is dead. Did you know that just 20 years ago, a year of college tuition cost around $3,000? Today, that number has climbed to about $12,000. And that is just a minimum tuition at a public university. You still have to pay for food. You need a place to live. You need money for everyday life. So, where is an average student supposed to get all that money? Even in the best case scenario, working part-time at McDonald's for about 20 hours a week, a student might earn around $15,000 a year. That barely covers the cost of tuition alone. And remember, we are talking about public universities which are generally considered less prestigious and are often attended by students who didn't have the strongest academic records. If you look at private universities, tuition alone can reach $100,000 a year or even more. Add basic living expenses and you are looking at a total of around $130,000 every single year. That's why so many people take out student loans knowing they will spend decades paying them back.
Everyone's always like, Brenda, why are you working so hard? Why are you doing a full-time job? It's because I have $78,327 in student loans. And you want to know how much unpaid interest I accrued in the month of February? $523.93. And this is me paying at least a minimum of $2,000 per month because I had the bright idea of going to grad school so that I can graduate in a healthcare job to help people but not get paid enough for the amount of student loans I had to take. Absolutely no way that I could pay this much with just that salary alone and live a breathable, decent life.
And it's not just college. America has changed dramatically. The American dream is slowly starting to disappear. Now, let me ask you a question. If you are under 30, can you actually afford a house? Or better yet, can you even afford a small apartment with a mortgage? If you are older, you probably remember what it used to be like. After working for just a year or two, you could already afford a down payment on a home. Just think about it, a good house used to cost around $65,000. Not a tiny apartment on the edge of town, a real house. And today, a modern home can easily cost $450,000. How is anyone supposed to save enough money for that? For many people, it feels almost impossible.
Yo, I'm never gonna own a house. I just accepted it. It is what it is. I'm not gonna have a home. I was back in New York talking to my pops. I said, yo, Pop, how much you pay for the house we grew up in Brooklyn? He bought the house in '96. And it's a decent house. It's not really big, it's whatever. It's like a middle class, like 2-story. House was $150K. 3% is what you had to put down. This man paid $4,500 for an entire home in 1996. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna own a home.
In fact, a lot of people who don't own a home don't even want to try anymore. Why would they? From the very beginning, they know it's out of reach. So why save? Why sacrifice? If the dream already feels impossible, what's the point? Instead, many choose a different path. Rather than chasing the quiet American dream of owning a home in a neighborhood where everyone knows each other, they spend their money on parties, impulse purchases, and things they will probably forget about a week later. The problem isn't the new generation. The real problem is what's happened to America and what is slowly becoming. Because of this, more and more young people are putting adulthood on hold. They are becoming less willing to move out of their parents' house. First, because they simply can't afford to, and second, because staying at home is more comfortable. Their parents cook for them, clean the house, and take care of them. Giving all of that up means stepping into uncertainty, a world where it feels like there's no place for them.
I'm 31 years old and I still live with my parents, and for a couple years now it's been something I've been really conflicted about. You know, I didn't go to school until I was in my late 20s, and up until recently I haven't had a job that could support me financially. I would see my friends moving out, my brother and sister, even people on social media that are like 23 years old are doing great things, and I just kept thinking, like, why can't I do that? You know, why do I feel so stuck?
I'm 32 years old and I live in my mom's basement, but at the same time, I feel like this is the best decision for me. Moving back and living at home has given me the chance to actually slow down, focus on my finances, my health, and really think about where I'm headed.
Take this guy for example, Michael Rotondo. He's 30 years old and his own parents actually took him to court. You won't believe why. No, he didn't commit a crime. He simply refused to move out of their house even after his parents tried 5 different times to get him to leave. He didn't pay rent, he didn't help around the house, and he wasn't even looking for a job. Before taking him to court, his parents even tried to help him. They offered him money to get started on his own and even gave him advice on how to find a job. Believe it or not, he even had had a son with a woman he had never lived with, because he was still living with his parents. As you can probably guess, he lost the case. He temporarily moved into an Airbnb using the $3,000 his parents had given him. He still never found a job. 8 years have passed since then, and no one really knows where he is now or what his life looks like today. But if I had to guess, I would say he probably hasn't changed much. And apart from a tiny apartment and his computer, he hasn't experienced much else. There are many cases like this all across the country. They just never make it into the public eye and never end up in court. On top of that, there's the influence of the internet and social media. Every single day, people are exposed to a picture-perfect lifestyle. They watch influencers living in huge private homes, eating expensive food, wearing luxury clothes, and driving expensive cars. But it's important to remember, that's just the image they're showing you. In reality, that influencer may have rented the house for just a few hours, simply to film a couple of videos that make their life look rich and successful. No one sees what's happening behind the camera or behind the editing. People watch all of this and start thinking that by age of 27 they have accomplished almost nothing, while their favorite influencer seems to have millions of dollars and luxury cars. You may not even realize it, but your brain remembers all of it. It keeps building up over time, until one day it all hits you at once.
And y'all gotta realize, bro, I'm literally I'm a 16-year-old kid, bro. I don't even, like, what am I supposed to do with all this money? I can't go clubbing. I can't drink. I can't go to nightclubs. I can't, like, what else am I supposed to do, bro?
Of course you can do anything with that money because your mom or dad gave it to you. You are just a TikTok populist, nothing more.
When I was 8 years old, I had already made my first million. 9 years old, 5 million. Now that I'm 25 years old, over 100 million. But it shocks me that there's just grown men who just aren't putting in the time that I was able to put in when I was 8 years old.
And believe it or not, there are actually people who fall for it. People who genuinely think these influencers are successful, when it's all just an obvious illusion. I mean, seriously, who actually believes an 8 years old has millions of dollars? Alright, enough with these TikTok influencers, let's move on to something more serious. How often do you hear about young people starting a family before the age of 25? Like they did just one generation ago. How often do you hear about a young couple having their first child at 20 or 21? Are we willing to bet? Not very often. The mindset has changed. People think, why should I start a family so early? I want to enjoy my life first. I will have kids when I'm 35 or 40, after I have a car, a house, a stable job. The problem is that house may never come, that car may never come, and the perfect job may never come either. Years ago, children gave people a reason to push harder. They motivated them to work, to build something, and to create a better future. That's one of the reasons they achieved so much. By the time they turned 60, they already had grandchildren coming to visit them. And even at that age, they still had a clear sense of purpose. What about someone who reached the age of 60 without having children, simply because of financial concerns? Concerns that in many cases could be overcome by working a little bit harder. In this country, that's possible. Have you noticed something strange? Real, friendly, close-knit communities are slowly disappearing. It feels like the days of walking outside, firing up the barbecue with your neighbors, sharing a meal and simply enjoying each other's company are fading away. People don't get together to talk about everyday life, or just have fun anymore. Little by little, that sense of community is disappearing, and before long, it may be gone altogether. The idea of a neighbor, as once we knew it, will disappear. Instead, they will just be the person who happens to live on the other side of your fence. At the same time, more and more of your lives are moving online. Why go outside for a walk or grab a beer with a friend when you can just play an online game together? Why go to a club, meet new people and spend time socializing when you can watch YouTube instead? As human beings, we are naturally drawn to the options that takes less effort, and more often that's exactly what we choose. The internet has become a refuge for introverts. Many of them hardly leave the house anymore, because they simply don't have to. They work online, they order food online, they shop on Amazon, everything comes to them. The world we used to know isn't coming back. That may sound like a bold statement, but I believe it's true. So, what is the real American dream? Is it having millions of dollars, throwing massive parties for people you don't even know? People who only care about your money. No. The American dream is something much more deeper than that. It's about kindness, it's about community, it's about human connection. It's about living a stable, simple, and fulfilling life. It's about walking out of your two-story home in a small town somewhere in Alabama and having a real conversations with your neighbor, talking about ordinary things. The kind of conversations that remind you we are all just people. The American dream isn't about material wealth. It's about the spirit of ordinary Americans who simply want to live a happy life. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments. See you in the next one.